Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura is having some second thoughts about capitalism.
There shouldn't be one billionaire. There should not be one person worth $1 billion. And I know that's shocking hearing it come from me, but the older I get, the more flaws I see in capitalism and the more good things sometimes I see in more socialism.
Whoa, based. He's right. I did not expect that. Holy crap. Based. All right, so before people's heads explode, by the way, socialism, by definition, is just the democratization of the workplace. You as a worker own a piece of the company that you work for and can make decisions alongside your fellow workers. That's it. And actually, it's not just fellow workers, it's worker owners. All right? Unlike in capitalism, where you do not own a piece of your workplace and make none of the decisions, all the decisions are made for you by a very elite top group of people at the very top of the company that may or may not know what they're doing and may or may not end up driving the company into bankruptcy, to which you end up losing their jobs, your jobs, and they end up, of course, falling with a golden parachute, the capital owners. So workers are not owners in this system. And so the wealth generated by the company ends up going to that very small few instead of being evenly distributed among the other worker owners. So now, it's a simple concept, okay? And if done right, that ensures that no one person makes a fortune off extracting the fruit of another person's labor, right? Which is what we have right now, by the way. You have these people like Jeff Bezos. You don't get to be a billionaire or a multi-billionaire without extracting labor from someone else, extracting value from someone else. It just doesn't happen. So now, only in a capitalist system do we have so many billionaires while regular people go broke. Okay? So now, to further illustrate the point, Ventura is going to make another comparison. Take a look.
What can one do to earn $1 billion? I had at one time what I considered the toughest job I've ever did in my life. I was right out of high school. I had a job with the Minnesota State Highway Department bridge crew, and my job was running the 90-pound jackhammer. That is the hardest job on the planet. You find me one that's physically or mentally tougher, and I was barely making above minimum wage. And you're telling me that these billionaires who are now doubling their money, doubling their wealth, that they work harder physically than someone spending 8 to 10 hours a day on a jackhammer? Bull crap. They earn their money by pushing pencils, and they don't even need to use deodorant because none of them ever sweat, I doubt it, at work. There should not be a billionaire, and I'm going on record to state this. If you can't live on $12 million a year, $1 million a month, maybe we should bring back capital punishment. Well, they already have, haven't they?
Wow. He's going full like guillotine, like, okay, let's have a maximum wage. If you can't live on $1 million a month, guillotine. He is like a step away from saying eat the rich. Damn. So again, his point here is fairly simplistic, but generally is pretty true. People who work their asses off, retail workers, people who do physical labor, factory workers, road workers, they do get paid crap wages for pretty hard work. Now, it used to be a lot of these workers ended up having labor unions to make sure that they had a fair wage. Some of them still do. But labor power in this country has been incredibly diminished since Reagan. And so not only that, but as a result, of course, the diminished power of labor unions, you have minimum wage that back in Ventura's time was actually worth more than it is today. So when you think about it, the financial reality now is even more devastating than it was before. And he understands it. He gets it, okay? He's right in the fact that the harder you work or seem to have to work at your job, the less you end up getting paid. And again, the more difficult to work, the less it pays. Fast food, again, very dirty, very hot, greasy environment. You deal with terrible customers. It's constantly super fast paced. That's difficult work. Direct care workers, they do some of the most difficult work imaginable. You take care of people that need round-the-clock care. You feed them, change them, lift them, bathe them, give them medication, which sometimes, could be life and death. Dealing with, things like stomach tubes and just all this stuff. And people don't understand how hard it is, how difficult it is to take care of a human being who cannot take care of themselves, who cannot do anything for themselves. And it's not just one person, by the way. It's multiple people per staffer, per household, and they make maybe $10 to $12 an hour, if they're lucky. Not even a living wage, it's nowhere near. My wife used to work in that work, and she's like, we should be making $30 an hour at least. This is difficult, hard, back-breaking labor. And it's true. And you also have people that are in non-physical jobs that are also demanding as hell. Teachers is a good example of that. They often work incredibly hard and end up paying out of pocket for student supplies. They don't get good wages. And there's a lot of great examples. But this is all while the wealthiest Americans in this country have ended up getting so much wealthier. And that was generally his point. And so let me get to some details on that, by the way. Last week, a report published by Oxfam found the world's 10 richest men have seen their fortunes increase by a combined $500 billion since the COVID outbreak has begun. The wealth of billionaires worldwide increased by a combined $3.9 trillion between March 18th and December 31st of last year. Meanwhile, according to Washington, D.C.-based think tank Institute for Policy Studies, the richest 660 people have actually pocketed a windfall of wealth, combined $1.1 trillion since the pandemic began. The Billionaire Bonanza, according to the Billionaire Bonanza 2020 report, which was published again last week, found that since the World Health Organization classified the coronavirus outbreak as a pandemic in March 2020, the combined wealth of America's 660 billionaires has actually went up by 39%, and the number of billionaires increased by 46. Now, Chuck Collins, the director of the IPS report, said, quote, billionaires are reaping unseemly windfalls of wealth during the pandemic. They benefit from having their competitors shut down or controlling technologies and services we are all dependent on in this unprecedented time. We should tax these windfall gains to pay for recovery. So, I mean, look, we don't necessarily have to tax them. I think we should. But generally the point is money printer go burr. Yeah, we should tax them though. But generally Ventura is not, he's not wrong about this issue. And it is interesting to see him because he's always been, to me, he seems like a libertarian type of person. Now he seems to be going to like libertarian socialist or anarchy kind of thing, and it really is interesting to see that this man is just it's being bread pilled. So it is really interesting to watch. And hopefully, maybe he can red pill some of his supporters. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.